bring toilet roll?
No.
What? What am I supposed to wipe myself with?
Use a leaf, there's enough round here.
I ain't using a leaf to wipe my badge.
My name is Jimmy Smits, and you've got the shits.
Craig David Dowsett writes and directs Bigfoot, Primal Fear. Dowsett actually plays our Bigfoot in the movie, and interestingly, he was the actor that played the Winnie the Pooh in the Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey movie. And this, I believe, is his directorial feature-length debut. So this is a very basic, low-budget Sasquatch movie. The movie primarily focuses on 4 campers who go to the woods to camp, and it actually takes place in the UK. And they are inevitably attacked by Bigfoot, and then the last third of the movie, last act, is people looking for them. So let's discuss. Now, I think it's interesting that this is actually taking place in the UK. A lot of times these kind of low budget British movies try to play off that it's in America. This one doesn't, it doesn't bother. But I did actually appreciate that it was the kind of the language that's used, the kind of the dialogue. It's very clearly kind of, you know, South English style of talking. It's curious to me that they didn't kind of, because Bigfoot, we don't really have it in the UK, but we do have a creature, well, I mean in mythology, called a woodwose, which I think is probably the equivalent really of Bigfoot, kind of in the, you know, in the Americas and stuff like that. I'm surprised it wasn't really referred to as a woodwose, as I say, because that's kind of the English equivalent in regards to kind of mythology and lore and stuff like that. But anyway, I actually did quite enjoy the fact that it's clearly like you know, taking place in England. But I would say, I mean, if you're not familiar with England that much, it's not a big country, therefore there's not really anything which is really unexplored. So, you know, we have areas of woodland and stuff, but there's not really any areas here that are more unexplored, to be honest. So, you know, but it's you know, it's a little bit of a difference, and I quite enjoyed the fact that the characters here are clearly not trying to be anything else than what they are, and that's kind of like English geezers and stuff like that. So I did quite like that. I thought it was an interesting idea to have the story of our campers be the first 2/3 of the movie, and then kind of like really different characters in the last act. It kind of gave it a little bit of a unique feel to it. I'll have a theory about why that is in a little bit, but you know, it's an interesting kind of sort of way that this kind of movie is told. You know, I mean, I suppose it follows a 3-act structure, but you know, the third act is completely disconnected, really. The creature itself is somewhat of a basic suit. You know, it's all right if you don't mind low budget kind of creature effects. It's nothing like, looks more or less like a store-bought suit. You know, quite a cool looking like face mold, but it's just static, doesn't move or anything like that. It's just like a rubber mask. So, you know, it's very cheap, it must be said. To be honest with you, it's a film which doesn't have all that many plus points, if I'm being completely honest with you. I mean, maybe you could say it's relatively kind of fairly paced, because, you know, as I say, the actual primary story finishes within kind of the first 2 acts, so it's quite a kind of like quickly paced movie, I would guess. But I'm really struggling to kind of give you too many positives to this one, to be honest. So let's talk about what doesn't work. And this movie is clearly an extremely low budget film. And I've spoken a few times in reviews where I know that films get filmed just over like a weekend. And I suspect this is probably the case here, because it just feels like a very, very rushed production. I'm not saying that is the case, but that's how it certainly comes across. Now, I'd be surprised if there was actually a script for this movie, to be honest. It feels to me like it's just been sort of like, we'll just kind of make it up on the spot. Because there's not really anything story-wise here, if I'm honest. It just feels like some people go into the woods and are attacked by Bigfoot at the end. That's basically it. There's not really it's not any more complicated than that. And maybe you like kind of a simple story, but to me it doesn't feel like there was a script for this movie. Some of the dialogue here from our characters feels a little bit like jarring. For example, before they're attacked by Bigfoot, these two couples sort of set up their tents, and one says, "Right, what do we do now?" And the other's like, "Well, we just sit back and enjoy the peace," or something like that. And it's just like, you know, there was clearly like not a lot of direction there in regards to what these characters are actually supposed to be doing out in the woods and things like that. They're just kind of like, they set their tents up, and then even the characters don't really know what they're supposed to be doing. You know, they're just kind of like hanging around. So, you know, it feels like no script. Anyway, what else? The movie just has a really sort of cheapness to it. We're out in the kind of filming in the woods. It's picking up a lot of ambient noise. And in some respects, I think you could arguably say, okay, that's what would happen. But you feel like you're getting a little bit like of interference and stuff like that. So it doesn't look like they've kind of like done any ADR on the movie, which sometimes can be a detriment, to be honest with you. But it just feels like the sound quality isn't sort of particularly good. It's a little dimly lit at times. It doesn't look like they've really kind of used any sort of additional lighting to kind of light sort of you know, scenes in the dark. As I kind of mentioned here, I think the Sasquatch, the Bigfoot, is just it looks like a store-bought costume. And you know, when we have our kills, they are kind of off screen because they don't want to have to kind of pay the money to do kind of like more complex kind of VFX shots or gore, so we kind of see everything sort of off screen, to be honest, or it's kind of obscured. They don't have to kind of show you what's kind of happening here. Yeah, I mean, it appears that there's not a huge amount of actual direction here. I mean, this is this guy's first movie, so I guess it's kind of starting blocks here, but you know, it looks like it, to be honest. And then we have our third act of the movie, which is completely separate. We just have these bunch of other people, like in the year's anniversary of these original people gone missing. We have a bunch of like YouTubers going looking for them, and it's clearly, to me, or at least this is how it seems, that they have made this movie with our initial cast of 4, and it's just not been long enough. So they need to do reshoots to increase the runtime to make it a feature-length movie. So you've added another act to the movie with other characters who we've not met before. And in this particular act, we're not introduced to really any of the characters. None of the actual the cast here have any type of getting to know you time. So there's literally a bunch of kind of red shirts looking for this these original 4 characters, and for some reason they're mostly American. I don't know if they're actually they actually are American, or it's filmed in America. It doesn't look like the same woods to me. And then just kind of bolted on. So there's also like another shot sort of in the movie where we see some other characters getting attacked by Bigfoot, which looks like it's also kind of like reshoots and stuff. So the movie's kind of quite shoddily put together, I have to say. The acting here, you know, I mean, it's not the worst, but it certainly isn't brilliant, I would suggest, from some of the cast here. It's just an all-round somewhat shoddy movie, it has to be said. If you just want to have on some basic-ass Bigfoot movie in the background, and that's basically it, then maybe you'd want to watch it. But there's nothing here really that I can say, oh, it did this well. It just looks like it's a very quickly produced, let's have a quick turnaround, you know, shoot it over a day, shoot it over a weekend, and we'll bang it out, and then it's done. It's a movie. I mean, I looked at the this director's upcoming movie, and he's got like 8 movies in production. I'm just okay. It's clear that these movies are just going to get churned out. I mean, this is the model for a lot of these kind of British low budget horror films. I'm sad to say, and I wish it wasn't, but it just seems to be the case. No real sort of trying to make 1 or 2 good films out of a period of time. It's just bang out these cheap and cheerful ones very, very quickly. But that's the model that makes money, I suppose. Anyway, for me, 3 out of 10. It's not a good movie. What were your thoughts? Have you seen it? Leave me a comment and I'll look forward to seeing you next time.
You have the Jimmy Smits, you stinky bastard!